Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and we're picking up where we left off. We're heading away from Lake Mungo, so this is Lake Mungo down here. This is where we've been for the last day or two, and we're heading almost due north, a little bit west, up to Menindee Lakes, which long-time viewers of the channel will remember had a very brief visit to when I was on the variety trip. So to get up to Menindee Lakes, basically taking the main exit out of Mungo National Park onto Garnpang Road and then onto Top Hut Road, which is a gravel road, gets you back to Pooncarie Road, which is a bitumen road, and then take the bitumen north through Pooncarie, follow it all the way north. Apologies for scrolling so fast, but you can follow this road on any map to the Menindee township, and then just north of Menindee take the Menindee Lake Drive or Menindee Road or whatever it's called. I'm not actually sure of the name of that road. Then we got on to Menindee Lake Drive, which took us to our campsite here. And we're pretty lucky that we actually decided to take the scenic route because this other track here was actually shut at the time. So this sort of long way in was the only way into this campsite. You can see there's a bunch of campsites over here, which seems to be where a lot of people like to camp. We were pretty chuffed to be able to book this, and as it turns out, we're the only ones over here. So anyway, without any further ado, guys, let's get into the video. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and picking up where we left off on the last video for this trip. We may have had one upload in the interim because I'm a bit slow at editing sometimes. So glad to be wrapping this trip up with you guys. So we're leaving Lake Mungo. For those that didn't see the last video, we're leaving Mungo National Park, Lake Mungo. So heading out the west side, turning right here onto Garnpang Road, and we're heading north and west to the township of Menindee and Menindee Lakes, which is actually not that far from Broken Hill. So yeah, turning left here onto Top Up Road and heading to Pooncarie Road. So that's about 45 k's, as you just saw there on the screen. So it's a good solid run, that's for sure. And very similar to the roads that we saw on the way in, approaching. Generally pretty wide, decent condition. Seems to be a little bit of a bitumen seal around the periodic stock crossings. Some of those stock crossings have fences, some don't. Track is or road is pretty sandy, but with a really firm base. Softer sand off to the sides, so you definitely want to stay on the main part of the road. I think it's been progressively sort of graded down, and the spoil sort of builds up at the sides there. So for long-time watchers of the channel, you might remember I had a brief visit to Menindee Lakes back in 2022 when we were on the variety trip. Mark was with me on that trip, and we were in the Pajero. And ever since then, I've been keen to go back and spend a little bit more time there. And as you will see in this video, guys, it is so worth it. There's the amazing Kinchega shearing shed, which has got some of the coolest historical stuff that I've seen in a shearing shed anywhere. And the Menindee Lakes area itself is well worth checking out. So yeah, it's definitely worth the drive to get there. A good couple of hours from Menindee Lakes. And as you're probably getting the feeling here, she's pretty dry country out this way. And it was a pretty steady run, straight west almost. The odd bend in the road, but not too many. And by and large pretty flat, excepting the odd small rise like that you would crest and just see more straight road up ahead of you. This road was generally in really good condition, wasn't too corrugated, didn't have washouts or potholes, but whether that's always the case is, of course, hard to know. And just coming to the end here now, where we're going to get on to Pooncarie Road and head north into Pooncarie and then on to Menindee Lakes. So we're back on the bitumen here now, at least for a while. We didn't bother airing up because our tyre pressures weren't that low. In fact, we may not have actually aired down now that I think about it. I don't think there was a need. So we're probably running road pressures anyway. And yeah, obviously with bitumen making good progress, just avoiding a bit of roadkill on the road there. And it's a relatively short run along this section, about 20-25 kilometres into Pooncarie. And just coming into the township of Pooncarie now. And I'm pretty sure Luca needs to top up the thirsty GU. So yeah, we spotted a couple of fuel bowsers there on the right hand side. So I'm just pulling over, ready to do a U-turn. Yes, the thirsty GU has pulled in to be topped up. So right on the long range tank in the 76, even towing, there was no need. So yeah, quick stop there at Pooncarie, and then we headed north to Menindee on the Pooncarie Road. And that's a good run of a couple of hundred Ks. Still heading north from Pooncarie, a few Ks more on, heading to Menindee Lakes. The 76 just cut out, lost power again, pulled over, turned it off completely, started it again driving fine again now, but we have the check engine light back on again, which had gone out earlier. Which is a shame, but the car is still driving perfectly fine. Oil pressure and temperature and all the other things that you can monitor are perfectly okay. So we are, of course, pushing on. I think I'm going to rename that light the less than ideal conditions light. But anyway, I still think it's going to be a rail pressure thing with the fuel, you know, because we got very low on fuel and must have picked up some sludge, even though the long range tank hasn't been in there very long. Anyway, it's going in for a 200,000 K service soon, or 195, near enough 200. Was always planning to do a top end intake clean, and I think we'll get a secondary fuel filter fitted at the same time, and yeah, get the injectors looked at and just get the whole fuel system sort of looked over. Anyway, but you know, this thing doesn't let an engine light stop it. You know, if this was a more modern vehicle like the Padge, probably wouldn't let me drive, or it'd be in limp mode and I'd only be able to do 60 Ks, whereas this thing, light comes on, it stops the engine running. Driver says, yeah, nah, I just want to keep driving. Car just says, that's fine, carry on. That's what we like. Now, there's no argument to say that I shouldn't do that, probably, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is. Monitoring everything else. So, yeah, we're a long way from home, so we're pushing on. So yeah, section of road here has been resealed, and yeah, as I was just mentioning on that previous bit of footage, it has been an ongoing issue. Still.
Mate, easy. I mean, up from the hill, crest of the hill, and looking down this road, the surroundings, it's actually quite a nice scenery.
Yeah, definitely.
Sign there back there said Menindee 24-hour fuel, which is, I mean, I've got it, but which is good to know.
Yeah, definitely. Got the old beast there in the corner paddock.
Yeah.
So just coming into Menindee Township now.
Yeah, no, left here.
As you heard, Lucas thinking about fuel again already, but he is okay. He doesn't need to top up right now. So just turning to take the main road through into Menindee Township. It's been a pretty hot, warm day. Not a big place, Menindee, but does have a couple of shops and a service station. And look, we decided to stop off and see if we could get an ice cream or a drink or something. It had been a pretty hot day. So just up around the corner here is a little cafe that was open, and we called in there. So Menindee Lakes are to our left here, following that sign to Broken Hill. Centre to stop for an ice cream.
Howdy.
So yeah, quick stop there at the cafe, and now heading into Menindee Lakes, which is just west of town, only a couple of kilometres, not far at all. We've just come out of the limits of the township, and the entrance to Menindee Lakes National Park, or Kinchega National Park, is just here on the left straight away, and you can see the bitumen ends immediately. And we did have our campsite booked here. We booked the Lake Cawndilla campsite, which, for my money and in my opinion, is probably the best campsite area in this vicinity. There's about 35 campsites down along the river, and a lot of people seem to camp down along there. It just seems to me that it's probably going to be pretty crowded and busy down there, and a little bit of a drive to get to the Cawndilla campsite. And yeah, just some glimpses there of Menindee Lake, or Lake Menindee. So the northern lake is Lake Menindee, and then on the other side there's Pooncarie Lake and Cawndilla Lake, and then down the south we've got Lake Cawndilla, and then there's a dry lake called Emu Lake. Together they are known as Menindee Lakes. In terms of power boating or water activities on these lakes, you can fish on the lakes. Lake Cawndilla is kayaking and swimming, non-powered boating only. Fishing is allowed. The southern and western side of Lake Menindee is the same, and the northeast quadrant allows power boating, which I think is accessed maybe from the caravan park and maybe a ramp on the other side. So as you just saw there, guys, we just turned right off the main drag to head west on Lake Drive. Now we primarily headed down this way to try and get a better view of the lake, but the country here is so flat you can just see the lake on the edge of the frame there on that last shot. The country is so flat that a lot of the time you're looking at the map and you're right next to the lake and you can't even see the water. The other thing is, of course, because it is very flat country, the level in the lake doesn't have to change too much for the water line to move a long way away as well from where it's shown on the maps. So you don't always get sort of the water views that you might be anticipating, expecting or hoping for. But all the roads in here are in pretty good nick, I guess as you would expect being a national park. Clearly, of course, being a national park, all the campsites are paid campsites. You book them online. I have to say, though, the amenities and facilities were well worth the money that you pay. Very well maintained. Really nice campsites. As you'll see when we get to our campsite, it turned out that coming in on Lake Drive from this end was actually the only way we could have got to our campsite. We just didn't know that at the time because the western or southern end of Lake Drive was actually shut, and we actually weren't aware of that. So just approaching here, the Moulton Bulker picnic area. So this is a day use area. There are some barbecues here and long drop toilets and some picnic tables, but this is not a camping area. This is a day use area only, and you get some water glimpses from there, just depending on the water level, I think. So yeah, we're pushing on past there. It's about 5-6 kilometres to go, as you just saw on the screen, until we get to Lake Cawndilla campsite, which is on the northeastern shore of Lake Cawndilla. Later in the video, I take Luca down to a viewing area at the southern end of Lake Cawndilla, and you really get some appreciation for just how big these lakes are, because they're huge. They are some of the biggest inland lakes you would see anywhere, particularly when, like at the moment, they've actually got a bit of water in them. Some seasons they do run very low, and it has some pretty severe impacts on the local ecosystems. But yeah, certainly the time we've been here, they actually had a good amount of water in them, which was good to see. The scenery can change very quickly from very open, sort of barren looking land to suddenly you're in the bush and actually got a bit of shade, which wasn't too bad at all. And just as quickly you're back out of it again and into another open area with just some low bushes. So we're just coming up here, I think. Yeah, we are. On the left here is the other end of Lake Drive, just there on the left. You might have seen that road closed sign if you had sharp eyes. So I think that's been closed for some time. There's certainly no evidence of wheel tracks, that sort of thing. So that's where we had thought we would come in, and we just did this other part of the drive for a scenic drive to see a bit of the country around where we're going to be camping, because we had time. So I was lucky we did come in that way, and you can see there Lake Cawndilla dead ahead. Again, gives you a little bit of a sense of scale of this lake, but doesn't really do it justice, because you're just getting some sort of glimpses there, but it looks more like a coastline than looking at the edge of a lake. Nice hard packed road as you've seen, and definitely getting close to that campsite now. And I do think of the amenities here, apart from being well maintained and clean and looked after, I think they've just recently been upgraded as well. Definitely spent some money there, which was nice to see. So yeah, just coming into that camping area now. So yeah, long drop toilets there on the right. They actually had sensor lights on them, so that was kind of interesting at night. The wandering animals were setting the sensor lights off because we were the only ones here. Barbecue and picnic area there on the left, nice new metal shelter. And then each of the camping areas have their own built-in fire pit and table, which was pretty awesome. And we could not believe, we did arrive reasonably early, so we just thought there must have been other people going to rock up.
The campsite just back
We're
there.
the only ones here.
Nice little walking track here. Straight to the lake. Look, just spotted something.
Don't take a sudden move, but there's goats. I'll grab my knife, right? We'll have goats for dinner tonight.
Good luck with that. I see him down there.
Some great views to be had of the lake, and as you can see, it's not that far from the camping area where you could easily walk down and enjoy the lake, go for a swim, whatever you want. I wasn't walking that far down today. Back here at the campsite, as you can see, we just pulled in, haven't set up yet at that point, but yeah, a bit later on, got the fire going, got the camp set up. Great little fire pit, and yeah, I got the rooftop tent up on the dot, and next morning that was my view, waking up in the rooftop tent looking out, and cooked up a quick breakfast, bacon and egg sandwich to start the day before packing up and hit the road. So it was our last day of the trip today, so our plan for today was to head out from camp, head over to the old Kinchega station, check out the old shearers' quarters and shearing shed. Then I was going to take Luca for a run down to the southern end of Lake Cawndilla to a great little viewing area that I remembered from my last trip to this area before we head off, leave the area and start the trek home. Now you might remember on the way in there was a little side track that we did notice. Now I'm not talking about this one here, which is the end of Lake Drive, but just back past the day use area there was another side track, and we can hardly call ourselves off the beaten path if we don't get off the beaten path. So we were chatting on the radio just about how much time we did have for different things. A couple of emus there just running across, early morning emus, certainly more common up here than they are in the high country, and a couple of skippies just there, which were a little bit hard to see probably on camera. But yeah, just back past the other side of the day use area there was that little side track, and we did decide to check that out on our way out today. We thought we probably had time for that, and we were both just a little bit intrigued to see where it went. So yeah, this is the side track we saw on the way in. I've actually come up past it, done a U-turn and come back to get into it, because with the dot on the back it was a little bit of a sharp turn to get in there, and we immediately had a decision to make, and just decided to keep left. It looked like the more well-travelled option of the two. Wasn't sure if the right-hand option was a legit track, and you know, national park, heritage area, you sort of want to make sure you're staying on actual made roads. and this one did look like it gets a reasonable amount of traffic. So just slowing up there. The track up ahead was looking a little bit more rough, so first time on the trip, actually put the 76 into 4 high. Doesn't hurt to move the oil around in the transfer case if nothing else, because it almost certainly wasn't needed, but just towing the dot, I thought, well, with the extra weight on the back, it's not going to hurt to drop it into 4 high. And when you're driving on a track that you've never driven before, you don't know what's up ahead, what's coming. And again, this was a really good example of, we could see on the map that, we were almost driving in the lake at this point according to the maps, but clearly there was no water around us, and the track seemed to be going on forever and ever. It was a decent little run in here, but as I think you'll see when we get to the end of it, you'll probably agree that it was probably worth it. And this certainly wasn't a difficult run to get down in here either. Some sort of open, flatter sections of just sand here, and really sort of hard packed sand as well. You can see the vehicle tyre marks have basically disappeared. And again, much like everywhere else around here, the scenery changed fairly quickly from that low-lying sort of brush to bigger bushes and some trees actually starting to appear. And you can see there a couple of emus just in the bush on the left-hand side. Just caught that left of frame there.
Wow, that's old.
And I think Luca just pulled up to have a better look at it. And by this point we were starting to think we must be getting close to the end of this track, because we're sort of getting into the bush now. It's certainly closing in around us a little bit more. And we figured we're either going to get somewhere, or the track was just going to kind of peter out in this bush. Certainly at this point I was starting to feel that way, but you can see the water there on the right, so I was pretty confident we're going to end up somewhere, and we certainly have. So a little bit of a clearing here right at the end, and you can see we've ended up on this peninsula with wetlands to the left and the main Menindee Lake to the right. Just a little bit of a clearing here. This is not an official campground or camping site. Certainly saw evidence that people had camped here, but you're not meant to. This is, I would say, just a day use area, and looks like people use it as an access to put kayaks and other boats into the lake. So yeah, the water's certainly got a bit of a colour to it, a lot of minerals in the water. Nice to come out here and get down a bit closer to the water than we have done so far, and it gives you just a very small taste there looking north of how big it is. So jumped back in the car, headed back out to the main road, and we very quickly were at the end of Lake Drive and turning right on the main road and heading south down towards Woolshed Drive and the Kinchega station. So yeah, good roads. You can see the dot towing along nicely behind me there, and we're actually on Woolshed Drive here heading south to Kinchega station. Shingle back on the road there.
Yeah, I pulled one off the road the other day and it was just so feisty. I just ended up shooting
they're hard to spot. And Luca, of course, stopped to encourage him off the road, as he often does, and got some great footage with his phone. The cameras on the Apple phones, they do some really good work up close, I think. And this guy is a bit more friendly than most of them. They usually hiss and whatever else at you, but he was happy enough to go about his business. And Luca just got escorted him off the road before getting going and catching back up to me. Just on the left there, that access road takes you down to the river camps. We didn't actually drive down in there, didn't feel the need, but yeah, 34 odd campsites down in there, and just coming up here on the Menindee Lake campsite, which is up here on the left, you can see there's a long drop toilet block and a picnic area, but it's a very open campsite. You can maybe just make out a camper trailer in there with a canvas tent on it, like a rear fold or something. Look, the only reason you would camp there is if you wanted to be close to the shearers' quarters and the Kinchega Woolshed shearing shed, because I think where we camped was a far superior location to that Menindee Lake campground. Just no real shade there and pretty exposed, close to a reasonably main road. So the shearers' quarters there on the left, you can actually book and stay in those as well if you so desire. Not sure on the rates, but that'll all be on the park's website. And there was a huge range of really old equipment here, which was cool to see. So this is an old boiler that was used to power a variety of different machinery, so old steam powered machines. And yeah, they're not actually even sure where this one particularly came from, but amazing to see this sort of old machinery. And the Kinchega shearing shed there, a 10-stand shearing shed that was built in 1875. Corrugated iron and river red gum. It's just an amazing piece of Australian pastoral heritage that's been well preserved and looked after, and contains a lot of really cool history.
Crab winch and boom used to load wool bales onto the carts for the bullock trains.
So again, another boiler here on the left, not in quite as good a condition as the other one, and an old tractor there.
Quite an amazing collection of old equipment.
Yeah, this is all just on display as you come into the main entry of the shearing shed. And coming into the shearing shed, there's a set of scales there and old wagon.
So this old cart was used to transport river red gum timbers from down near the river and the lake and back up to where it was needed for milling and manufacturing. And yeah, those wheels are exactly what you think they are. Rounds cut from the trunk of a tree. So pretty agricultural.
For some reason just reminded me of the Flintstones.
This has got to be the oldest wool press I've ever seen. Hand operated, pulley system. The actual box that would hold the bale is on a trolley system. Can roll in under the press here. Hand operated press where the leverage increases as you wind the rope on. I've never seen anything in a wool shed quite this old. Just quite ingenious. Very impressive. The old sorting tables there. Shearing apparatus still intact, 10 stands. It's a big shed. Some of the, obviously the handpieces aren't here, but some of the drive arms are still here. Very cool to see. Pens all still intact. This one's been built with timber that looks like it's been milled. Got that familiar looking colour from the oil from the wool of the sheep rubbing off. Still works.
Yeah, it's got a counterweight in the end.
Yeah, this side as well.
Have a look at these bundles.
Yeah.
Like you're walking into an old western saloon.
Yep. So you can grab the sheep and pull them out and shear them. Very cool old shed.
You can see some of the larger timbers, structural ones, are still round timbers, but most of that timber there has been milled, unlike the timber used here in the yard construction. Much more similar to what we saw at Mungo. Looks like it's been rough hewn with axes from logs to form up these yards here where the sheep would be pushed out into once they've been shorn and had the fleece removed. But yeah, just an impressive collection of machinery.
Something else I've never seen before, a dust flocker. Used to shake and beat the dust out of the wool in times of drought when severe dust storms would load the fleece with dirt and sand. Quite a unique looking piece of equipment.
And as always, Luca is the wildlife king. He spotted this guy just outside the shed when we were heading on our way out. Quite impressive, and yeah, he disappeared quickly underneath the shearing shed. So yeah, look, that was a great visit there to Kinchega Woolshed and Shearers Quarters. I highly recommend checking it out. It's one of the best old shearing sheds with such an amazing collection of old, really old shearing gear that I've never seen anywhere else. You know, that wool press was just outstanding. So yeah, heading back out towards the main road, and then we're just about done here for this trip, but I did give Luca the option to head straight off, but he was happy to take a little bit of extra time to get down to this viewing area that I told him about. So we turn left here onto the main road, which is the old Pooncarie road, and we're heading south down to the bottom end of Lake Cawndilla. It's a good few k's run down here, probably about 20 k's. That's just how big these lakes are. But you know, you're driving at a good clip, so it's not like it's going to take you an hour to get there. The road's in pretty good nick. We're probably sitting on 80 k's an hour, so yeah, it's not going to take you too long to get down here. And when you see these banks, this is the southern end here. This is where there's an outlet and a great little viewing area here just on the right. It's probably one of the best spots I've found anyway. There may be other spots locals probably know, but this is one of the best spots I've found for getting a really good view of the lake. It's a little bit elevated, and because of that you can see a lot more of it than we've seen to date, and it really gives you an appreciation for just how big these lakes are. So this is the southern of the two main lakes, Lake Cawndilla, and this is about maybe half the size, maybe a bit over half the size of Lake Menindee, which is the main lake to the north. So when you look across there, on that northern shoreline somewhere is where we were camping last night. it gives you a little bit of a sense of scale or scope. So yeah, Luca wasn't too far behind me. You can see up there, just as I'm pulling in with the dot, Luca's coming up here to join me.
Lake Cawndilla, next to Menindee Lake.
So yeah, great view from up here.
A few pelicans down there.
That's those little dots you can see in the water down there.
Yeah.
But it does give you a little bit of a sense of the scale of these inland lakes. So, you know, look, particularly if you're into boating, fishing, that sort of thing, you could probably come up here and spend a week and get your boat out there and do some fishing. So yeah, brief stop there to just give Luke a good view of the lake, and back onto the main road, and we decided to head north back towards Menindee to refuel for the somewhat long drive home. So yeah, it wasn't too far. It's probably
Worth the drive to get the view though, eh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, you know, we're only down the road, so yeah, just to get the visual of what everything looks like and things, it's a good idea.
And I meant to say earlier too, same as yesterday. After we stopped and I turned the car off at that locals only sort of camp spot, the engine light's off again.
Okay, well that's interesting. That's good. It's sort of repeating itself. So yeah, look, I was thinking you might want to ring the motor mechanic because we're going again in about 2 weeks' time, I believe. I think it's about 2 weeks' time. So you might want to, just in case if they have to order parts or anything.
Yeah, no, when I got signal, I'll give him a call because he's in Wodonga, so it won't be a public holiday for him today.
Roger. You know, just thinking out, if there's a problem, you know, just let us all know how it's all panning out. I mean, don't mention anything, but if there's a problem, just let us all know.
Yeah, we'll do.
So yeah, just heading back into Menindee. Now, if you do want to know the full story on what was the problem with the 76, stick around to the very end of this video and I'll cover that off for you. Ended up being something that the previous owner had done. So yeah.
So turning right
In 300
towards
meters,
Menindee.
your destination will be on the
Right
right.
towards Menindee.
And looks like the servo's just up here on the right hand side, only about 300 metres after we exit the national park.
Roger, thank you.
So yeah, certainly nice and handy. Probably serves them well to be close to the lake where a lot of the tourists probably go. Just here on the right is the service station.
Your
A
destination
little bit of a
is on
general
the
store
right.
in there. You can get some basic supplies and things. So great little stop here at Coombs Transport.
Hey everyone, well here we are on our way home from this trip. Been a cracking trip. Weird little teething problem with the 76 that I conveniently ignored and continued to drive and haven't paid a price or had a problem yet, touch wood. But cracking trip. Lake Mungo National Park was as good, if not better than expected. you know, if you're into photography, it's definitely a place that you could go and get some amazing photographs. And yeah, look, you could easily, you know, you'd want to get those sort of at dawn or at sunset, and consequently you would want to camp, you know, at least a few nights. It was a long weekend. The main campground was chockers. We were chuffed. We were camping over at the Bellar campground. Much better, much nicer, more shaded, trees, just better. Amazing old buildings, just really cool stuff to see. And, you know, notwithstanding the long history of Aboriginals in that area as well, and, you know, some of the amazing ancient history that's been unearthed with Mungo Man and Mungo Lady, some of the oldest remains found outside of Africa, oldest human remains, I should say. And there's an amazing story around the whole Mungo area, and, you know, the fact that the lake's still there, but it, you know, it was like 20 or 30,000 years ago that it largely dried up. I mean, they get, you know, infills of rain, and, you know, they get some little areas of water that hold water at different times, but and at those times when that happens, they get a lot of bird life, but generally speaking, it's a dry lake. And yeah, it was nice then to push up to Menindee Lakes, and again, cracking campsite there. We did a bit of a drive around after the next day, being today, and Cawndilla campsite where we camped, in our opinion, far and away the best campsite. And both locations, Mungo and Menindee Lakes, obviously parks have invested some money there recently. Long drop toilets. Cawndilla had gas barbecues as well. Water on tank, so, you know, not drinking water, but water that you could use for washing dishes and that sort of thing, and cleaning. And just really nice, clean campsites, good fire pits. Just, yeah, the whole 9 yards. Little lizard there.
Bloody hell. I mean, you missed him, I missed him, they're still fucking staring at me.
That's it.
I think you've had enough.
Yeah, it gets me. They just sit there, eh?
Yeah, wife's trying to give him the shit. I think I'm going to go.
You're going to go play with the traffic. But yeah, so Cawndilla campsite, cracking. Highly recommend it. Bit of a walk down to the water, but there's nowhere that we could see where you actually camp on the water at Menindee Lakes. It's just how it is. I think the level changes dramatically, so where the shoreline is moves an awful lot. You know, if you wanted to get down to the lake foreshore, you could certainly do that from Cawndilla campground. And the old woolshed there is just packed full of history. Really cool to see. Notwithstanding the woolsheds or shearing sheds at Mungo, and there's an Anchi one as well. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We certainly enjoyed this trip. I only had the 76 in high range 4-wheel drive for about 5 minutes, but, you know, not every trip has to be about 4-wheel driving. Certainly on some of these tracks, roads, you appreciate having a 4-wheel drive with larger tyres. Copes with their corrugations and things a lot better, I think, than a vehicle with smaller tyres. But you certainly didn't need a 4-wheel drive to drive where we've been on this trip. So yeah, back to the real world, back to work now. That's just nature of the beast. You got to pay to play. So, but yeah, it's been a really great few days break. Had the dot with me. It was great to be using the rooftop tent again. That thing is just super quick and easy to set up, pack up. Nice and comfortable to sleep in. Really happy with it. Yeah, really good. Anyway, guys, we've got yeah. So that's the other thing I was going to mention, was just for a perspective. As you all know, I'm based in Albury. To get from Menindee Lakes back to Albury, 8 hours and 55 minutes of driving. So, you know, she's a pretty remote trip coming out here, and ironically, Luke is with me, and it's slightly less than that for him to get back to Melbourne. So, go figure. Like, we're in New South Wales, and I live on the New South Wales border. He lives at the southern edge of Victoria, Melbourne, and he's going to get home before me. So, anyway, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So, yeah, catch you guys in the next video. As always, please like this video if you've liked it. Any questions, comments, put them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, I got a few hours driving ahead of me yet. So catch you in the next one. So this was the plug-in tuning module that was in the 76, and you can see there where it's fallen down onto the EGT and melted well and truly, such that the circuit board was getting cooked, which is why I was getting those lights.
Hey guys, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. So doing this one in the edit room because I realised I hadn't really filmed anything that really explained it. So you just saw that clip there of the plug-in module. So I had obviously bought this vehicle secondhand. I had no idea there was actually a diesel chip plugged into the ECU. Yeah, my mechanic only found it because he was going looking for something, and it had been installed in such a way as to try and hide the fact that it was there. So maybe the previous owner was getting it serviced at Toyota and didn't want them to know he'd chipped the car. Yeah, basically he tied the module up sort of inside the V with cable ties, and the plastic cable ties melted over time because there's heat in the engine. And as you saw in that little clip, the main box that was, you know, sending the signals to the engine had actually fallen down onto one of the, I think one of the exhaust pipes or something. Not sure exactly because I didn't see it in situ, and melted through. And what actually happened on the way home is I got all the way to Mildura pretty fine. I think maybe it stopped once for me on the way to Mildura, pulled over, turned it off because it lost power, just shuts down, pulled over, turned the key all the way off, started it up again and started driving. And that happened over the whole length of this trip, you know, once or maybe twice a day. So I wasn't too concerned, and consequently I pushed on, as you saw. Now what happened after Mildura on the way home was I got like 5 minutes out of Mildura on the Sturt highway. Speed limit was 110. Everywhere else I'd been, the speed limit was 100. So speed limit was 110. So I'm doing 110. 5 minutes and lost power, engine light. Pulled over, turned the key off, started again. 5 minutes, lost power. So I actually rang Luca because he wasn't with me at the moment. He was heading south towards Melbourne. So he changed his route and sort of paralleled me on the Victorian side. And what I found was that if I eased off to 100 instead of 110, it didn't stop me every 5 minutes. So I was able to let Luca know that, and he continued his way south and I continued my way home. And obviously that was load and temperature related. So yeah, the joys of buying a second-hand car that you don't always know what's been done to it. That was the outcome for this particular issue with the 76. So it was a really easy fix. Remove that plug-in ECU module, problem solved. Catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and particularly thanks if you've watched all the way to the end.